everybody, and welcome to Pass Left Draft. What we're aiming to be is the most entertaining draft content on the internet. I'm Chris, and I'm joined here today by Fergus.
Hello.
Fantastic. Now, we're going to be drafting M21 today, Fergus. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the format?
Yeah, M21's a very interesting format. It's lower powered than some of the other sets we've seen, and tends to be a bit less pushed into synergy dependent power. It tends to have a lot of just getting good cards. But it's definitely an interesting set. There's plenty going on. There's plenty of archetypes. So, fun set.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty good for a core set, and I've had a few nice drafts at it as well. Just to tell you all a little bit about what we're doing. So today we'll be taking you through the draft section of the video, and then over the next couple of weeks or so we'll be releasing the different rounds in individual videos for you to watch in your own time, so you don't have one huge video to watch all at once. So without any further delay, let's look at who we're drafting with today. And most of these drafters are people from the northeast of England, people that we've drafted with in the past who are very keen limited players. We're going to be focusing on Joe. Now, do you want to tell us a little bit about Joe?
Yeah, Joe's a great guy. He's been involved in the community in the Northeast for a while now. Now, used to work in one of the LGSs in the area. Classically likes to play a bit of blue, likes old school Magic, and obviously is the host of the Hour of Devastation podcast. Top guy,
Yeah,
good drafter, and it'll be fun to see what he does.
yeah, real asset to the community. So really happy to feature him today and see how he's going to draft this set. Okay, let's look at pack one.
Sweet.
So here we are, pack one. The rareness pack is the Heroic Intervention. It's not the strongest rare that you have, but it's still definitely playable.
Absolutely, it's playable. I quite like that card, actually.
Yeah, it's just it might not be the pick one, and you know there's a few other options here. There's the Swift Response down the bottom there in the common slot, which looks to be the only removal spell in the pack.
Which I think is always a strong way to open up a pack one, pick one. Bit of removal. In a strong colour as well.
Yeah, the only other option I think I'd look here, I wouldn't really want to go for the 6-drop at this point.
No, especially not with Tolarian Kraken. I don't think it's actually a good enough finisher by itself.
Yeah, there's a couple of combos you can do with it. He's looking at the Augur there. Now, the Augur's a key card in the blue-red spells deck, which a few people have been saying is the strongest card in the set. You've got a Star 4 Trampler, where the power is the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. And you also get a rummage with 2 cards in that as well. And that looks like what he's definitely thinking about there. I think I'd personally go for the Swift Response, but maybe that's because I like removal too much.
Yeah, I think both are equally valid. I think you're hoping to find spells with the Ogre, which is exactly what he has done.
Yeah. And this pack, I would say it's a little bit better than the first pack. So he's got a couple of options. He's got Finishing Blow, which instant speed removal spell. It's fine. It's pretty strong. And Shock. I'd be between those two myself.
I think those are both two strong ones to consider between. I think I'd go for Shock. I think it plays too nicely with your first card and is too generically good to consider anything else.
Oh, that's interesting. No, he's went for the Sanctum because I think even after those 2 cards, I would have went for the Garruk's Uprising, which is a really good card advantage spell in usually green-red. But yeah, he's went for the Sanctum, which is, if you're going to do shrines, I was going to say gates there, if you're going to do shrines, it's the best shrine to maybe start on because it fixes your mana for the rest of them.
Yes, that is technically true. In the same way, if you're going to do 5-color nonsense, you're better off starting off with a with some form of mana fixing. But,
I mean, it is.
You probably just shouldn't do it.
It is a bit of a meme deck, but I don't think it's entirely a meme deck.
I think it's pretty hard a meme deck, if I'm being honest.
I mean, talk about memes.
That was the wrong pick.
If he wants to do that, he's got the Chromatic Orrery here, Mythic. Now, it's certainly not a bomb Mythic, the Orrery, but
no.
I think it's still playable. I would probably play it in a 3-color deck.
Would you?
Not for fixing. A 3-color deck.
Yeah, I mean, you can't play it for fixing. At 7 mana, like, who cares about fixing your mana at 7 mana? Because you're dead then.
Yeah, but what it does do is draw your cards. So
it does draw your cards.
If you've got that point and you need to dig yourself out of a hole, if you've got nothing better to do, it can draw you 3 cards in a 3-color deck.
I mean, optimally, if you have 3 different colours with permanents on the field.
Yeah, two colours would be less
mana.
likely to play it, but 3 colours I think I'd quite happily play it. And I think the other thing I'd go
Halo
for
Blade for me here
is I might go for the Library Larcenist. He's got a couple of blue-red spell slingers, and he's quite a good creature to have in that spell slinger deck. You can
Yes, 'cause it
spend your
goes through.
removal, spend those shocks that you pick or you don't pick on taking out the blockers and get in with it. But he has gone for cancel, so another blue card.
I think that I think there are several cards better than cancel there. I like the Hallow Blade. I think it's aggressive, and I
Yeah.
really quite like it.
Yeah. Here you got the Alpine Watchdog, 2/2 vigilance for 2. Perfectly fine card, nice little 2-drop. It's got that Chrome
Absolutely.
Replicator, and I really like that. So it's a 4/4 for 5, which isn't very interesting, but you can get a second 4/4 out of it. He's went for Pitchburn Devils. Happy with that. I'd be happy with that pick. Happy-ish in this
I'd
set.
be happy with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Devils is a nice place to kind of end as a red deck. It pushes damage through. It threatens to trade on the board, and it's just all around a pretty good card. At 3 damage, you're not gonna have a decent target with that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel ridiculous, but this is a core set. It's quite a low power core set, which is fine. We've had a few high powered sets and very high synergy sets previously, so this is just a solid card.
Absolutely. I unlike things like the orrery or like these shrines, you're gonna. There's a high chance you're gonna play that card and be happy playing it.
Oh, we're going to the shrine here though.
I mean, if you're gonna pick shrines over everything else, I guess you'd keep picking shrines, right?
Yeah. But I don't think that's the way he's looking to go at this point. That green card was a little bit of an anomaly. Unleash Fury, I like that as a one-off, especially in a blue-red deck with some prowess creatures.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be crazy excited to be picking it this early. I'd be a bit
No.
worried that I wouldn't be getting any value out of that.
But the pack itself doesn't seem to be pulling in any particular direction.
It feels like every M21 pack is just
Yeah.
a big pile of. This is all pretty mediocre.
But you know what? The drafts themselves, the games themselves, still end up being very fun. So it's just different. It's a nice palate cleanser, as I say.
I think I like the cat the most in that pack. 3 mana, 2/1, have a counter.
Yeah.
Fine. I like that.
Counters is a thing. Now here, I think I'd go for the Furious Rise. Spine Knight Megalodon would be second, but the Furious Rise, if you can get it online, it does draw you quite a lot of cards, or effectively draw you a lot of cards.
Yeah, it can keep you going, particularly if you're playing aggressive deck. But it kind of pulls in 2 different directions. The Rise wants you to have big, beefy creatures so that you can turn it online. But this kind of card draws energy, it kind of wants you to play lots of small value creatures so you can run out your hand and then refill.
We are going for another cancel, it looks like, though. So.
Yeah, I think Joe might just really like the card cancel.
Yeah, he likes his control, I think.
When in doubt, take a cancel.
Yeah. Nice rare that. It's a decent rare. It's not really in his colours. He seems to be fairly well in red at this point.
I think it's a bit split. It's a bit all over the place, to be honest with you, at this stage.
But the packs don't really seem to be sending too strong of a signal.
Nope.
If maybe it was a single colour card, it wasn't gold, then that would be probably quite a big signal. But nothing here is feeling super strong.
Nope, I agree with you. I think the Wingmare's okay. I
think
the Pegasus is
and
good
white.
as well.
Yeah, and with the Concordia Pegasus and that as well, maybe white is the open colour at that point. Yeah,
the fact that I'm seeing a Pegasus this late suggests to me that no one's on the white blue flyers list.
Yeah.
And I like the white blue flyers deck.
Yeah. Valorous Steed there, I think, is quite a good card at the top end of white. You get 2 bodies. There's a few things in white which you got Glorious Anthem in the rare slot and things like that, where having this extra bodies is seen to be good.
Yeah, I think Steed's one of those cards. If my pack one pick one is Glorious Anthem, then I look at Steed and I like it, but I don't think I'm desperate to take it beforehand.
Did have 9 lives in that pack. It's an interesting card. It's a cool card. I think it's good to have in there, but it is a bit of a situational card, and
I think it's flavorful.
Yeah.
But
another
I think
pack where there's not a huge amount going on. I think I'd probably go for the Fury of Bitten here. It's nice if you can get on a prowess creature. So there's 3 mana 2/2 fly with prowess in blue in this set. Name escapes me right this second, but a wind drake with prowess, putting Fury of the Bitten on, it makes it a 5/5 that turn. If you can do that turn 4, that's a really strong play, and then it's a 4/4 flying prowess from that point onwards.
No, I agree with you. I think Fury of the Bitten is a good card.
Is he going for Wishcoin Crab? No, he didn't go for Wishcoin Crab there, did he?
No, he didn't. Going for the asses. I think he's just I think
Yeah.
he's snap picking reds there. I'd take the Pegasus over that Arsonist.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. He had a lot more red. He's got a lot more red, and he's probably feeling more solidly just pick up the red cards at this point and then see where
But
pack
if you
two
look
takes
at
him.
his red cards, how many of those are you excited to play? Because Unleashed Fury is very situational.
I
Fear
think,
of the Bitten
yeah.
is good as a one-of. Then the other card has got his one Arsonist and Pitchburn Devils. I think he's overcommitting himself to red here.
Potentially.
Unnecessarily.
But I think if you look at any of these colours, you can make that same argument, and none of the packs have really been pulling them in a direction. So it's a tough draft. It is a tough draft. There's been a couple of decisions which I thought were a little bit off, but I certainly wouldn't want to be sitting in these seats at this point.
No, I agree. I think this is a tough draft. I think I'd be more tempted to go broader rather than just picking up random red cards I'm unlikely to play.
Yeah, he's going for Fear of Bitten here. I think I might have actually went for the Scoured Barons there because, like you say, leaving yourself open and...
You're not playing 2 Fear of the Bittens unless you're playing a very aggressive red deck.
Yeah.
Which with 2 Arsonists, maybe that's the way he's going. But I think I'd be more inclined to set myself up to be more agile on the pivot in pack 2.
Titanic Growth, I think that's fine in this format. When you're attacking and there's a lot of cheap removal spells taking out your small creatures, having something that can instant speed make it immune to shock and things like that. Or just get that last bit of damage through.
I'd be tempted to take the zombie there. I think 2 mana, 2/2 for 2. It's just a bear, but it's a creature. It's fitting in your 2-drop slot. He currently has no creatures there.
Last card here, Infernal Scarring. A little bit of a disappointing first pack, I think, there for him. So
yeah,
we'll have a quick look at how the pod's doing overall and see where everybody else is, and then we'll come back to Joe in a moment for pack 2.
Okay, now looking at this table, it's quite interesting because we can see that Joe's been on the right of 2 other red drafters. So he was taking quite a lot of red cards there, but he wasn't getting the best picks, if we're being honest about it, was he?
No, yeah, I think he had difficulty. I think he's taken a fair few red cards here. I mean, obviously it was his pick one. I think the quality of them wasn't great, and we can kind of see why now looking at the table. It's going to kind of be interesting to see where he goes from here, to be honest.
Yeah, now coming from his right, so going into pack 2, he should be in a little bit better position because we can see both the drafters on his right have first pick low skill Coatl and try to get into that Cynic deck.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. So the other thing we saw Joe pick up was a couple of blue cards, including 2 cancels. So kind of suggests he's unlikely to get a lot of blue going into pack 2. He's likely to pivot away from that, maybe strengthen up his red, and we'll kind of see where he goes from there.
Yeah, it's definitely quite open. It's going to be interesting to watch his pack 2. The other thing to note here, I think, is only 2 of these drafters have taken a red as their pick 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I think M21's a bit like that. I think the rares, you've got plenty that aren't great and limited. You get that in any set. But particularly in M21, I think there's just a lot of rares that you don't necessarily want to pack one, pick one.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the 9 Lives, we saw the Chromatic Orrery, and they're examples of, well, 9 Lives isn't a great card, but cards that you're not really going to want to pick first, and there's often a better card. We've got a couple of removal spells in there and things like that, so there's often just better picks to take.
Absolutely. Although I'll keep my eye on that Masker one because I think that's a fantastic pack one, pick one.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at pack 2.
Sounds good.
9 Lives in the rare slot. It's the second 9 Lives that we've seen in this draft. Obviously, we talked earlier that it's not the best card, especially with the double white when you're not in white.
Well, I think it's also just a bad card, right? Like, it's just life game with extra steps.
Yeah, pretty much. And it might keep you alive a little bit longer, but if you don't have a way to close out the game, then it's not really going to do enough for you.
Same reason you shouldn't be playing Life Goes On. They're both really not doing a lot for you, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, Life Goes On, if you do... Obviously, Black-White is the main version of life gain in the set, but it's still... You can still get some life gain effects in green with either white or black. I like the Swift response here, though. Removal spell was sought early pack 1 as well. He's not averse to white at this point.
Yep, that's what we said we would have taken as our pack 1 pick 1, and we'll definitely take it as pack 2 pick 1.
Yeah, I think Bazi Solidarity was a close second there, but with the lack of removal so far, he's wanting to get that gap filled. It's a 2-drop, and you were talking earlier about the lack of 2-drops, so I'd be quite happy taking that at this point.
But there is a difference between 2-drop creatures and 2-drop spells. I think
without doubt.
The difficulty here looking at what Joe's got is it's very low on the ground with creatures, but also low on the ground with removal. So he risks having very little influence on the board, which is a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster.
So we've got another mythic here, but it's not the most playable.
That
It
is
can do
slightly
fun things, but
overselling that. No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
bad card. It's a bad card. Don't take it, kids. Bad card.
It's tempting. It's always tempting to say that mythic, but he's went for the Magmus here. So a
That is
2/2
the
for
kind
2
of
does a bit of pinging.
Yep.
Does exactly what we're saying is what he wanted to be doing.
It's exactly what I wanted to see at this point in the draft. It's a creature,
Yeah.
it's a 2-drop, and it has extra bonuses on top of being a
Yeah,
pet. I love
it's on
everything about
curve.
that card at this point.
Yeah, it's solid. Wouldn't be happy with the pack one pick one with it, but when it fits into what
Nope.
your deck's missing, you feel a lot better. So still in that red, still really strongly in red. Haven't really come up with a second color. I think white's looking most favourable here.
Yeah, I think there were some strong singles in pack 1 that people were looking over strong white cards, particularly
Mhm.
flyers like the Pegasus in the common slot. So seeing those go around would make me tempted. Ooh, Spellgorger,
Nice.
Weird, or Shock.
Spellgorger Weird is the stronger card, and he does have a decent amount of instant sorceries.
I
I
think
don't
I
know
would
what.
take the Shock because I think the Weird is more likely to wheel.
That Weird won't wheel. I don't think either of those would wheel.
I think both are unlikely to wheel, but I think the Weird is more likely to wheel than the Shock.
Yeah,
And I think the Shock's higher value.
I'd possibly go for the Weird here, and then if you end up in red-blue, then you can take the Overload. He's went for the Shock. I don't blame him for taking the Shock, but I think I would have went for the Spellgorger Weird. Shock's a decent removal spell, but you don't want a huge amount of them in your deck. They are slightly better in this set than they have been in previous sets, but yeah.
Do you not want a lot of them? I'd be quite happy running 3 Shocks. Probably
In
run
this
4
set, I would
Shocks.
be fine with it. I think if we're looking back to something like, I think last set it was in was the last core set, and I think I wanted a little bit less then.
Ooh, speaking of spells and blue, we've got Opt here, which is always nice.
Yeah, you got Opt, but you've also got Llanowar Visionary. That's proved to be a really, really good card.
I think that is a good card.
2/2 for 3, which draws you a card, and it ramps.
I don't think I'd be taking more random red crap that I'm not going to play.
You're really not happy with him today, are you?
No, I feel like he's just taking red cards.
Well, that's because he's in red.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think he needs to pivot and move into a second color here, and I think there are good options going past. And I think we're just taking subpar red cards when there are better options.
What he's making sure is he's going to get past lots of nice red stuff in pack 3 as well.
Well, I mean, no, I do agree with you. No one else is taking red at the table because there literally will not be any.
I mean, going monocolor is not the worst. And to be fair to him, he has started off the pack exactly where he wanted to be, taking those 2 drops. He's got another Nimby here. He's got the
More white cards, I look.
Ogre.
Pegasus. The battlements is nice. Now, let me ask you a question. If you think about the Pegasus as he's looked past, if you had a 2 Pegasuses or something already in your deck when you're taking that battlement or something like that, would you not feel in a stronger position here? Because a lot of the cards he has play into this aggressive, forward-thinking game plan, and the lack of creatures in the 2-drop slot is leaving him quite vulnerable there.
Yeah, but hindsight is 2020, and
Yeah, it is.
yeah, you do want to pick those 2 drops early, and as the pros say, you want to get those the cheaper cards to prioritize them over the more expensive ones because you want more of the 2 and 3 drops than you do of the 5 and 6 drops.
Yep.
But only if there's good ones coming around, and if none of them are really coming around and coming your way and looking like the correct pick at the time, then, like we say, hindsight can be 2020.
I accept that. It's definitely the case. Hobble Fiend, I like that. That's a good
Yeah,
2-drop.
it's fine. It's two drop.
It's a 2-drop, 2/1 with trample. You
Yeah.
can sacrifice creatures that are being removed.
Yeah,
I
so
also
you can,
like the
yeah.
Archer.
The Archer's
We're
good.
talking about going into other colours here.
Not really have anything in black so far. So this is one of those ones where you know you're in red. Take the card that you will play in your red deck, and you would take quite a lot for him to take that out of his red deck, rather than getting a similar level black card.
I agree.
Which
I agree.
you might not play.
I'd take the Hobble Fiend. I think he's really getting to the point now where he needs to pick what the other colour is going to be. It's going to be quite crunch soon because if we look at what he's got, we've got a bit of white, a bit of blue, a bit of green. Like you look
You
back
did go
in
for the
cards now-
Archer.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think you take the 2-drop with the Hobble drop over the Archer.
Yeah.
Although now you've taken the Archer, you can take
The Red
Finishing
Sanctum.
Blow. Not Red
Yeah.
Sanctum. There's Finishing Blow. There's another
Finishing
strong
Blow
black
here,
card
yeah.
to go in.
Yeah,
And you
Finishing
can
Blow
keep
here
item there.
is what I'd go for. The Sanctum, that Red Sanctum's not bad though.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I know how much you like those shrines.
Yeah, I'm a big shrine fan, me.
Yeah,
Shrine
yeah.
fan number 1.
No, but like, yes, it deals 1 damage by itself, and you got to discard a card. But when you get a second shrine out, that does start becoming real. 1 mana, discard a card. It's got to be a land card, but at that point, you're not really doing anything with your land cards, and you're shocking a creature. So
If you play the shrine and then play another shrine and then discard a card and play a mana, you can have a shock.
Again, not the strongest of packs here. Watch of the Seers is strong if you're in the colours. Feat of Resistance is good to effectively counter spell. Counter the spell which target your creature, but he's went for the Unleash Fury.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, Burn Bright, sorry, it was Burn Bright.
Burn Bright.
It's good for
a gone wide creature deck.
Yeah.
Joe doesn't have a lot of creatures.
Well, give him some credit.
No. I'm not saying
it's
not that it's the wrong pick. It's just super interesting. Basri's Solidarity is wheeled.
That's a strange wheel, I think. That indicates people either are underestimating the power of that card or are just not in the right colours for it or not in the right deck for it.
No, which is interesting because we haven't seen lots of cheap creatures. So where are those creatures going, and why is the person who's got them not taking Solidarity?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. I think I'd take Alchemist's Gift here. You have the Archer. It's a little bit of a combo. It has value anyway.
Yeah, could do. I'm happy with that Solidarity because what he's done is picked up on that signal that is potentially going to be quite open from pack 3. If you can get a couple of things
and then
which
double
make
down on aggressive go wide creatures. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like the Corpse. I think the Corpse fits into that. You
not really, because if he's going red white, then he doesn't want to be playing black.
No, you're right. He doesn't.
But it's a 2/2 for 2. It's fine. He's went for the Revitalize. Again, it's a cantrip. It's a little bit better than just drawing a card.
Yeah, it is. I think Revitalize is a funny one though because kind of got a bit of an anti-synergy if you want to play this aggressive deck with things like Arcanist and Burn Bright. Spending turn 2 just doing nothing, drawing a card and getting through life is the opposite of what you want to do. I like Dub. I think Dub's an aggressive card here. I think that's the pick.
It's fine, yeah. You'd probably take it out if your opponent had a lot of removal. It becomes a lot worse then, but especially instant speed removal.
Absolutely. I'd take the Gift here because
Gift, yeah, it's fine at this point.
So it's falling apart. So how do you feel about how it's going for Joe at this point?
Oh, again, it's a tough seat. I think it is a really tough seat. He's made a couple of interesting choices. I think that's the nice way of saying it. But
I think it's easy sat
I don't
here
envy
to
him.
criticize these decisions, especially when you're kind of sat back and you can just say, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." At the end of the day, he's the one sat there who has to actually make a decision. So it's much more difficult.
Yeah. And he's just cleaning up the end of the pack here. Going on to his last pick, which is a nice mountain. So let's take another look at the table as a whole and see how everybody's getting on.
Okay, so going back to the table after pack 2, I think most players look like they're sticking to the same colours. I think Joe had a good pack there. He strengthened his red. As we predicted, there wasn't tons of blue. But I think it was a good pack for him. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's kind of given a bit more of a direction. He was picking up a few things in the first pack, but just getting all that red that he got really solidified him. Going to pack 3, hopefully he'll be able to pick up some really good white cards as his red's probably going to get cut again, but there's not much white going on his left-hand side, so that should help him get the deck that he needs by the end of it.
Absolutely, and we saw him pick up some decent white cards there going around, so I think it looks certainly like the red-white deck is gonna take shape, but we'll kind of see where we go with pack 3. Looking a lot better than the end of pack 1.
Let's get back into it.
Right, so pack 3, pick 1. We have Scoos and some other stuff. What do you make of all this?
Scoos is a really good card. I might be tempted by it. You can see he's looking at his colours, seeing how things are looking. He went for the Scoos. I don't blame him for that. There wasn't a huge amount going on in the pack.
You don't? Oh, I disagree. So, no. So Scoos, I mean, what's he playing it? He's going to pivot to green with Scoos, the Titanic Growth? Green clearly hasn't been opened. So far, his other cards is a Shrine and a Titanic Growth.
Yeah, but if you look at his other colours, he's got 6
He has
white
strong
cards.
white cards.
He's got 6 white cards.
But they're good white cards that you would want to play.
And Screws is a very good green card.
But it's one.
Titanic Growth,
one
fine.
green card.
Yeah.
So you got 1 to 2. Whereas with white, I'd happily play Swift Response, Solidarity, and Wingmare as a starter for 10.
Wingman's
So
fine.
3 already.
Wingman's fine.
I'd have taken the Watchdog. I'd have taken 2 mana 2/2 Watchdog.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. He could have. But I think unarguably Screws is the stronger card.
Screws is a stronger card, but there's a very high chance that it's not going to get played.
Yeah. Now looking here, got another Solidarity. That rare is good for him. There's a Tinter Slag at the bottom.
There is. Oh God, that Solidarity makes me so sad that he didn't take the Watchdog last turn. Because if you're taking the Watchdog and going into Solidarity,
Would you want more than one Solidarity in your deck? Really?
Yeah.
Especially if you're not super focused on that. No.
I think I'd want to pivot into being more focused on that.
Subira.
Or maybe I'm not being realistic about what he's already taken.
Subira is strong.
Subira is better.
Yeah.
Subira is a strong card.
And he's definitely red.
He is definitely red. I'm probably being unrealistic.
He's
about
probably.
what he's taken.
I don't disagree. He probably still is white. But you know, he's going to play Subira. You'd put that in any red deck.
Absolutely. But this is my issue with Scoots, is even after you've taken it and you look at that pile now, he's still not picking green.
Yeah.
So you're banking on finding more green cards to convince you that Scoots was the right choice.
Yeah.
When you could just take a decent white card or a decent red card and just be done.
True. Yeah. It's a tough pick, and to be honest, I didn't get to see a huge amount of what was going on in that pack 2.
No, it was a very quick pick.
Yeah, it was.
You could take Scoots, but I don't think I would take it that quickly.
Yeah. Now here at the Abyss, it's a card. It's a draw your half your deck card, but
it's a terrible card because.
Yeah.
Yes, I would take their Magma Mutt here.
Magma at the bottom. There's Swift Response as well.
Swift Response, yeah. I mean, he's got removal here. I think Magma. Yeah.
I would have went for the Magma over the piling. I'm not a huge fan of the piling.
No, I think the Magma Mutt is kind of just better, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely would have went for the Magma over the piling.
But at least we have 2-drop creatures. So
it is. It's becoming your favourite archetype, isn't it? 2-drop creature tribal.
What I feel like as we go through this draft, it's like at some point he has to take creatures, right? Like he has to actually play creatures on the board.
You don't need creatures to win in Magic.
You don't. But I feel like in M21 core, if you're not taking creatures and you're not taking removal, you need to be really careful about what you're taking.
Ooh, that's exactly right
here.
Haven't seen many of them, but.
Daybreak Charger? It's not terrible.
I think I'd be going for the Acolyte. Acolyte or the Gale Suitor, but probably the Acolyte.
The Acolyte's a good card. I'd be tempted by that.
Yeah, and then just try and clear up with all those 2-drop creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, green hasn't been open all draft, and it's still not open in pack 3.
At this point, that Gale Suitor or the Daybreak Charger could wheel, but the Acolyte's not going to wheel.
No, you're right. You're right.
And you're taking a white card, so yeah.
Yeah, you're taking white card. I mean, yeah.
Okay, went for the Gale Suitor. I suppose the Acolyte's got double white. Makes it a little bit tougher in the deck because he's a lot more red than he would be white if he ends up going there. Now, that's at least the third chromatic replicator that's came around, and that would have been a really fun draft.
Yeah, just hold on.
Oops.
You take Defiant Strike over Hobble Fiend?
No, I think I'd go for a Hobble Fiend.
He has no creatures to play these on.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, and that is a card where you want your creatures to...
I'm curious if I'm misrepresenting his draft. How many creatures has he actually got at this point?
Oh, excuse me again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 creatures in the 1 and 2 drops.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, and then 1 3-drop.
He's got the Ogre.
3
3-drops, yeah. Then
3 3-drops and
2 4-drops if you ignore the Skeleton Archer.
That's 8 creatures so far.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's okay, but it's very creature-like for a red-white aggro deck.
Oh, excuse me. Here, now I really like Goblin Wizardry. Had a deck where I think it was 3 or 4 different Goblin Wizardries in there, and yeah, it didn't do fantastic things. It was let down elsewhere, but It's a fun card. Instant speed, make the 2/1/1s, and then you can follow up with a couple of spells next turn and hit for quite a lot of damage out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think a 1/1 with prowess is surprisingly strong.
Yeah, and you get two of
Stronger
them.
than you would first anticipate. Yeah, and you get 2 of them for the full mana.
You can get down a blocker there, and then if they alpha strike and think that they've got you quite easily, you can play that, use one of them to block, and then next turn swing back, and you'll have more power than they were expecting, and they've not done as much damage. Spell Gojo Wade here, I'm happy taking that at this point, especially with the deck he's got.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's got a bit of red-white spell slinger, aggro type of thing going on. It's not really a hugely defined deck, but as I was saying earlier,
it's a bit all
in this
over the
format,
place,
you don't
isn't it?
need a defined deck. So it does
No,
feel like this
you needed
last
it-
pack is rounding out his draft quite nicely, and things are starting to come together. But if I was, if it's day 2 of the GP or day 2 of the Pro Tier, I think I'd be a little bit worried with my deck.
I'd be extremely worried at this point if I was at that point.
Good job, roll here for the casual gameplay. Here,
yeah.
the
And
Valor
comment-
Steed, I think I'd go for here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I'm still personally weeping inside for the incredibly aggressive low curve creature based deck that could have been.
Yeah.
But it's not here, so I think the Steed is correct.
Yeah, if you follow the Valorous Steed with Battery Solidarity, you can't be in a particularly bad position unless you're pretty much dead anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's a little bit higher on the curve, more mid-rangey than aggro with that last pick.
Much more.
Yeah.
Much more.
Another piling there. Not a huge fan of that. It's a 1/3 with a small upside. I much prefer 2/2 with a small upside over the 1/3, but in the pack it was
completely.
probably the best thing that was there.
Yep. I mean that takes up to 5 creatures in the 1 to 2 drop range, which is a quite good improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to drop an Arsonist out there for a better 2-drop.
Well, that was. Oh, speaking of which, here you go.
Yeah,
You got
here
better
we go.
2 drop.
You take it. Yeah, you just
Nice.
take that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that was part of why I was so concerned and keep rabbiting about the 2-drop slot. Is yes, okay, he's bordering on whether or not he has enough 1-stroke 2-drops, but he is trying to play 2 Goblin Arsonists,
Yeah.
which if you're playing a deck that's trying to go to the top end of the curve is not exactly where you want.
Although Daybreak Charger does work fairly well with the Goblin Arsonist, because if you play it in turn 2 and you've played a Goblin Arsonist turn 1, you can give the Arsonist +2/+0.
Yeah. No, the Charger was a great card to see.
Not a huge amount going on here. Probably just take the
Nah,
Larcenist,
it's nothing going on here.
but you're not really playing anything there. He's taking the rare.
Nope.
That's fine.
You're not playing anything
no.
from this pack. No.
If it was on Arena, you're going for your set completion or something like that. Another 2-drop there for you. So
Yeah, I'd be. I'm feeling better already.
yeah,
about
so the
how
middle
it
of this last
started.
pack has really helped him out. It's
But I wonder if it's more than he realizes. I'll be interested to see what his deck looks like because that's 3 2-drops. He just doubled his number of low curve creatures basically in the last few picks as the only cards in his color.
well, we will be talking to Joe in a moment and seeing what he thinks as he went through. It's been a tough draft, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say about everything that's gone
100%.
on here. See the truth. It's rare, but it's basically a sorcery speed anticipating the format. Interesting things
Yep.
you can do with it in constructed, but it's not doing a huge amount for you. And there we are with a mountain at the end. So he's done drafting. Let's take another look at the table, see how everybody's ended up, and see what types of things Joe's going to be playing against. And then we'll follow it up with a conversation with the man himself.
Sounds good.
So now the draft's over, we're back at the table here, looking at how everybody's gone. How do you think that went for Joe overall?
Overall, I think he'll be. I'm not sure he'll be that happy if I'm being honest. I think he'll take what he's got. I think particularly after a difficult pack 1, some opportunities to pivot that just haven't quite come off for him. I think a very hard seat to play in.
Yeah. I mean, we were discussing options. We didn't necessarily agree with him, but also didn't necessarily agree with each other at the same time.
No.
But he got there in the end. He's got a deck. He should get some wins out of it. Maybe not the 3-0 that he'll want, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, if we look here, we've got his deck list as he ended up. So, not the lowest to the ground aggro decks, but it's fairly low to the ground. 16 lands, some good removal spells, and a couple of combat tricks in there as well. So, if he manages to get the right draws and gets under the opponent, he should be doing quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is. I mean, I think one of the benefits of playing aggressive decks in draft is even if you don't quite get all the pieces you want or as good a draft as you want, the reality is you just get to come to the table and you get to play low to the cost cards, ask your opponent a question, and if they haven't drafted well enough and they haven't got a plan, you just take the game away from them.
Yeah, without a doubt. The next deck we've got here is Maurice's Deck. So this was the first of those Simic decks that first picked the low scale Coatl. Just got some good creatures, a few counter things going on in there, and some alright spells. We'll have to see how that goes. We've also got Gareth's deck, so black-white deck with quite a lot of creatures, seems to be quite aggro. 4 swift response and 2 finishing blows, so he's got an incredible amount of removal there with some pretty aggro creatures as well.
Yeah, I love everything about this deck. This deck does a whole ton of stuff I like. I think it's got good creatures, it's got a nice curve, it's got plenty of removal. I think if I walked out of the draft with this, I'd be pretty happy.
So next up we've got James. He is the only non-2 colour deck in the draft, and he's went for a lot of spells with some fairly decent creature with the 3 Shipwrecked Dowser in there as well.
Yeah, interesting card, isn't it? 5 mana, 3/3 prowess, obviously gets you an instant sorcery. I mean, it's value, it's a 5-drop. Interesting deck, and some interesting cards.
So next we've got the Great A. He is the other Simic drafter who started with a low scale Coatl, one of 3 low scale Coatls in the draft. He's got some pretty decent creatures, a Storming Entity, but the thing I'm really picking out here, 3 Drowsing Tyrannodon and 4 Pride Malkin. So that's given him the opportunity to go turn 2 Drowsing Tyrannodon at turn 3 Pride Malkin and swing the 4/4 Trampler on turn 3. That's not getting stopped by anything in the format.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's really, really quite powerful. I think it's got some good cards to support that. I have noticed that discontinuity. Don't think he should be playing that. It's a bad card.
Yeah, it's a strange card. It's probably got its place in certain places, but maybe he just wants to play with the Sweet Mythic he opened. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of those cards that there's one specific deck in Standard that's still bad, but actually managed to get some value out of the card. But in Limited, I mean, you're playing a silly game, I think.
Yeah, great card having existence, but you're probably not going to play it very often in Limited. Next up, we've got Sam. Now he's drafting another quite low to ground Boros deck with some nice removal, a Scorched Dragonfire, a Shock, and a turn to Slag, with a load of really fast creatures and 2 of those really sought after Bazu's Acolytes.
Yeah, this is my favourite deck so far. This is man after my own heart. He plays 2 drops, he plays 1 drop, he plays Shocks, he plays Short Swords, and he plays Warded Battlements, which I think is a great card. He's got the Pegasuses. I adore this deck. I think it's great.
Yeah, we're really looking at this being a super aggro format, and that is a pretty scary deck to face down. But fighting at aggro, next up we have David Wrigley. Now, David was the drafter who picked up that Mascot Worm, pick 1, pack 1, and if you are faced against an aggro deck, that is the card that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like anything in this, you're going to have to get to the man to play it and whatever. But, I mean, this is just a powerful card. And that's pretty much the story of this deck.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty happy if I had this.
Yeah. And then finally, we've got Dan Shipley. Dan's went for a fairly mid-range red-green deck. He's got the Llanowar Visionaries in there, a couple of Spellgorger Weirds, Leafkin Avenger, and a Volcanic Salvo as the only rare that I can see there, which is a pretty decent removal spell. 17 lands, pretty standard aggro deck, pretty standard mid-range deck.
This is pretty standard mid-range deck, but I think it's a slightly hidden, quite powerful mid-range deck. If you have a look and realise just how much removal is sat in that spell slot, a lot of removal, a lot of cards are going to affect the board state and push the board state forward. There's not a lot of fat around the edges here. Every card here is going to progress the board state, which is exactly what you want with a mid-range deck. So if he can play on curve and get value out of his cards, he's going to do very well with this.
Yeah, it looks like he's done a very good job drafting this deck. No super standout bombs, but a lot of very playable cards. Well done, Dan.
Right then, Fergus, while you go and sort out parents for round 1, I'm going to go have a chat with Joe.
So, Joe, how do you think that draft went?
That was awful. It was just truly terrible. It was the first time I've drafted the format, and I kind of really didn't have a clue what I was doing at all. I figured that I don't know, I think maybe it just all went wrong from my very first pick, where I was like, oh, this rare is cool, but it's just kind of like a bit of a better fog. Maybe I'll try to take this red card and force some sort of blue-red spells deck and see what that's like. But yeah, I don't know. I think red was definitely my lane, and I pushed myself into it early on.
Yeah, we definitely saw you for taking the red. It was a hard seat to draft, and we agreed on that. But there was a couple of choices that we thought that we would have done differently if we were drafting it ourselves. But like you say, it's still quite early in the format. None of us had really drafted a huge amount yet. And I think even your pack one, pick one was something that we were quite happy with. It was more later on, there was a couple of removal spells that you chose something else over.
Yeah.
I think you picked the Shrine over a removal spell or something like that. And yeah, it just kind of left us scratching our heads. But hopefully you'll be able to turn it into a usable deck and get some wins out of it.
Yeah, I hope so. The Shrine thing was definitely something that I was going for. I'd picked up the green Shrine fairly early on and figured, oh, there's definitely some sort of Shrine deck, 5-color Shrine deck. Let's just see if I can do that, because this has fallen off the rails quite quickly. So let's see if we can just force that and at least have some fun with this. But that just didn't happen at all, did it?
Yeah. I know that you said it's your first draft, but I know you like to watch the streamers and you watch the spoilers and things overall. What are your thoughts of the format going into this?
It feels super aggro, I think.
Okay.
I think green feels very, very good. I quite like white as well. I think white seems like a really cool support colour. I've seen lots of like green-white decks do fairly well. There's that 2-mana 3/3 dinosaur with defender that just always seems to attack on turn 3. That seems like a really good card. Yeah. It looks like a very aggro format. At this point, this was my first draft, so who knows what it's going to look like.
Yeah. And if people want to find you elsewhere, where can they find you?
They can find me in a bunch of places. So first up, if you want to check me out on Twitter, I'm at PeachGardenOath. That's Oath with an F. Facebook, I'm Joe Loudon. I'm in pretty much all of the Magic groups, so you can probably find me, I don't know, talking some nonsense there. I also do a podcast called Hour of Devastation. You can find us on SoundCloud, not Twitch, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube. Just Google Hour of Devastation podcast, and you'll either find us or, I don't know, like a million set reviews for the set Hour of Devastation. Also on YouTube and Twitch under the name Peach Garden Oath, so you can find me there if you want to. I'm all over the place. I'm sure you'll see.
Whole lot of places. Peach Garden Oath, and you've also got your podcast there as well. Well, good luck with the rounds, and we'll see you in round 1.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so I hope you guys enjoyed the draft. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, it was really good. I saw some really interesting decisions that Joe had to go through. I'm going to look forward to seeing him in round 1.
Absolutely. And speaking of round 1, Joe will be playing off against James. We'll also have Dan playing Gareth, the Grey Tape against Marius, and David playing Sam. So we will bring you round 1 next time.
Yeah, so thank you all for joining us for our very first video, and we can't wait to see you again very soon.
Absolutely. All the best.
Bye.